Welcome to the EFB Open Meeting European Update. We are very happy you could join us today. We will start today with a short introduction of EFB, of our federation, and today Dusty Gedge, EFB ambassador and our dear star of EFB, will introduce EFB today and start our meeting. And yeah, please, Dusty.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm just going to give you a short introduction to the Federation and what the Federation gets up to. We've got some people who are not currently members of a national association, and Tetiana is going to then talk about how you might want to be able to join. And we've got 4 great speakers, particularly about GoNaturePositive, which Pavel will talk at the end. I unfortunately have to rush off after about 10 minutes because I've got some urgencies. But let's get into the meat of the day. Over to next slide, please, Tetiana. So that's the Federation. There's our national members. And this is our last board meeting, which was in Poland, which unfortunately I couldn't be at. Next slide, please, Tetiana. Oh, we're waiting. Great. And there we are all across Europe, but there's some grey areas. It'd be great to have national associations from those grey areas in Europe. And we've got associates as well. We've got planners, municipalities, universities. We've got So Green. You can see So Green's here today, and the World Green Infrastructure Network. So we have a network beyond our national associations. Next slide, please, Tetiana. And there you have, these are our national associations, and these are the number of members each national association has. And so if you're a company or somebody who's interested in joining, you know, you may want to form a national association in your own country, which Tetiana will go into a little bit of detail in a moment or two. Next slide, please, Tetiana. And here we have, these are our networks and our partner organisations, World Green Infrastructure Network, which I'll bring up in a moment when I talk about biosolar roofs, So Green, European Landscape Contractors, World Urban Parks, and IFLA, and the Innovate Built Environment, amongst others. Next slide, please, Tetiana. And there's our executive board. That's the EFB from 2025 to 2027. Paolo, unfortunately, couldn't be here today because he's had a sad loss. And we've got Austria, Germany, Czech Republic, Italy, France, and the United Kingdom, who are our vice presidents, and myself, who's ambassador. I was president for 16 years. Next slide, please, Tetiana. And we also have other board members, and these represent various countries, you know, from Switzerland, Spain, Romania, Hungary, Sweden, Croatia, Poland, and the Netherlands. Next slide, please. And we are a legal entity. We're ruled by Austrian law, and we have these documents. If you become a national member, you'll be able to download these documents. And we do everything in a very democratic way, I can assure you, with my experience of 16 years. Next slide, please, Tetiana. And we have, this is what we try and do as a federation. We have a large network. We do these open meetings. We communicate. We have expertise in MBS related policies and building regulations, and we write publications, which I'm going to bring up in a moment. We've done 2 this year with partnerships of other people, and we also host seminars and webinars, which I'll mention in a moment too. Next slide, please, Tetiana. So these are 2 of our recent publications, the technical guideline on biosolar, which is actually international. We did that with the World Green Infrastructure Network, and that's a very exciting document and a very good document. And we've also got the benefits of green buildings, which was released in March 2025, going back a little bit in time then. I nearly said the 1925. And so these are downloadable. You can see there's a link there. Next slide, please, Tetiana. So these are our open meetings, and this is mainly for partners and for members. And we have these Let's Talk meetings. And we also, next slide, please, Tetiana. We also have seminars, and these are all downloadable on the EFB's YouTube channel. And there's actually a seminar coming up next week. Next slide, please, Tetiana. Now, unfortunately, I have to rush off. And I've not been so involved in the GoNaturePositive program that Pavel is going to talk to you about at the end. But Tetiana wants to go into a little bit of detail about that. So I do apologize for having to depart so early, but please enjoy the opening meeting. And if you're not part of a national association, Tetiana will also encourage you maybe to form a national association and become part of this wonderful family that has been a joy since I joined way back in 2005. Thank you very much. Over to you, Tetiana, and my apologies that I have to leave.
Thank you very much, Dusty. Thank you very much for joining us for introduction of EFB. It was a pleasure to have you today. Have a nice evening. And yeah, we will continue our event today. We have a lot of speakers. That's why we hurry up a bit. And I will start introducing GoNaturePositive project, which we are part of since the beginning of 2024. It's not only our project, but we will focus on it today. And this is a wonderful collaborative initiative of more than 20 partners from different European countries, led by Trinity College Dublin. And this is a very unique project, in my opinion, and we will have two speakers talking about it today in more details. But still, I will start to introduce the idea of it from the very beginning to help you to understand maybe this topic from now on. Our challenge is that nature is declining. We have to do some transformative change to change this. And in the projects, there were selected a pilot sectors on which we focus. And in the end of the project, we will have to have a clarity of what does nature positive economy means, which pathways can we use to reach there, how we should influence policy, how we will measure it, and how we will scale up this change to actually make it possible. And we are focusing on it in the sector of green buildings because we represent this pilot in the project together with our members. Like all our members are involved somehow, but we have like two main partners, affiliated entities from Portugal and Czech Republic, and they do the major work on national level, and we as EFB try to complete this change on the European level involving all our members. But what is nature positive economy? We have a huge concept note describing it, and I will show you the link how you can download this concept note. But the main idea is this concept which not only goes beyond doing less harm to actively restoring nature with two time frames till 2020-30, halting and reversing nature loss and achieving full recovery of ecosystem by 2050, which is very, very ambitious goal, but we have to be ambitious with this current change. What we have now, we have to do something really transformative, and not only in the frame of the project, but beyond. And here are the few publications which you can download already from the project website. The concept note on nature positive economy, which is a huge document of 50 pages, but there are also shorter versions of it, up to 1 page brief introduction in several languages. So if you want to understand it better, you can go via the link, or we can send it to you also in the chat. Then you can understand the concept better. There are also two other documents, even more. For every pilot, there is a sectoral brief, and there is a document mapping policy and cooperate initiative landscapes for systematic change towards a nature positive economy. And we are pleased to have an author of this document today, and he will introduce it in the more details very, very soon. So I don't stop here, but it's worth to download and read the documents as well. In the project, we try to engage and work with 8 target groups. And I will ask you to look closer at those target groups and understand to which of them are you belonging, because we will also have a process of road mapping activity for our sector, how can we reach nature positive state of our business. And we will have workshops facilitated by Cambridge University, which will be a very interesting process. And if you are interested to join and you see that you belong to one of these target groups and you have time in November, December to join our workshops, we will invite you to join us in this road mapping process. We are going to understand which steps we have to make to reach particular goals and which goals we want to reach till 2027, 2030 and 2050, where we hope fully integrate the nature positive standards in building sector. For this process, we also invite a European Construction and Sustainable Build Environment Technology Platform, and we as EFB will be implementing the roadmap we are going to create, but creation of this roadmap really requires diverse perspectives, different points of view, and we encourage you to join us if you have time on those dates. You can write us message in the chat. We're interested in your email. We will send you more information and we will invite you to the sessions. If you want to join this process, we will be glad. And now we are back to our content, and today you will hear a few presentations, different presentations, but they are connected with each other in some way, and we will have a nice discussion around it. So the first presentation will be done by Antonin Chapelot and Katarina Kopp. This is a presentation about our cooperation in preparation of the document, which will help municipalities, national institutes to integrate EU policies international level. And it's a collaborative work between EFB and WGIN, and they both will be presenting it today. Benjamin Kupilas, a coordinator of Biodiversity Ecological Institute, will present one of the deliverables of GoNaturePositive project, the publication I already talked to you about a bit. And this will be also for you a nice dive deeper in this topic, and we can have a discussion around it. Rebecca Landwehr, EFB Vice President and BuGG Project Manager, will present a national practice spotlight, green roof refurbishment in Germany. And Pavel Dostal, EFB Vice President and Board Chairman of Czech Association and Green Will SEO, will present Czech green roof competition. So here is our agenda for today. We will have a presentation of the speakers and some time for Q&A session. And maybe we will have more extra time at the end to have more discussion. But I think we can start. And I kindly invite Antonin and Katarina to present your presentation. Please welcome Antonin, Policy and Advocacy Advisor of EU Chapter WGIN, and Katarina Kopp, EFB Assistant to the Board. I stop sharing my screen. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Tetiana. Thank you for the introduction. I will start, and Katarina will take then the follow-up of the presentation. So I'm going to share my screen right now. Let me try to put this in a way you can see. Is that all right?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, great. So thank you very much for having us today. So as Tetiana said, I'm Antonin from the WGIN European chapter, and we've been working quite a lot with the EFB on this new document that aims to simplify and explain what is happening at EU level and what needs to be implemented now in national legislation from the past mandates. Tetiana, you raised your hand? No? All good? Okay. So I'll explain a bit what we had in mind when developing this document, and then Katarina will go a bit more into depth of what is inside of it. I mean, as you know, we had an important amount of legislation that came up from the last legislative mandate of the European Commission. This was called the European Green Deal. It happened for 5 years until 2024, and it really created an ambitious but really also unprecedented legislative framework. It goes from climate to energy transition, but also biodiversity policies that really were created in a way to transform the way the European Union works. So now that all the legislative work has been done to propose the law, create the law, amend the law, and now the European law has been defined, there's going to be an important element, which is that member states, so countries of the European Union, needs to adopt the necessary national legislation to make sure that those changes happen in reality. Those changes, of course, have an impact on urban green infrastructure. At the WGIN, we worked quite a lot in the mandate to have some positive new provisions, so meaning requirements for member states to have a new, let's say, consideration or even installation, mandatory installation of urban green infrastructures. So this will have now a great impact on the market because this is now the moment where countries need to make it happen. So, of course, we followed a lot of different pieces of legislation, but also non-binding documents, because, of course, the European Commission also produced some non-binding documents in the sense of recommendation, communication, and those kind of things that also pushes member states to have an understanding of what are urban green infrastructure. But we really concentrated in this document on 4 pieces of legislation where we think there's the most amount of, let's say, changes that we can expect for green infrastructure in the next years. Those, and maybe you've heard of it before, are the Natural Restoration Law, which is really the main legislation at EU level to restore nature. The Urban Wastewater Treatment Directive that, as its name says, aim to lower the amount and improve the quality of the wastewater that is being treated in urban areas. The Energy Performance of Buildings Directive that also has quite a straightforward name, and the Energy Efficiency Directive that looks at more the energy efficiency of the EU economy as a whole. So this is the 4 legislation we concentrated on. So this document is not to recap, even though we of course do that, is not only to recap what has been decided at EU level, but really to help, as Tetiana was saying, all the person on the ground at national level and at local level that now will have to transpose and implement the new requirements. We have to say 2 risks that we see in terms of why we really wanted to do this document. One, because of course you need countries but also municipalities to really act on those provisions to make sure they are respected, to make sure they are implemented, which of course is also the role of the European Commission to make sure that does happen. But there's also another layer of that, which is also due to the different provision and requirements that we see in those 4 pieces of legislation, that sometimes the provision are not, let's say, the core elements of the directive. Sometimes they're linked to another provision. Sometimes they're just a way to achieve an objective. So green roof and walls are a way to achieve a specific objectives. So there is a potential risk that just national and local implementers don't think about it or don't consider it or are even unaware that those provisions exist in the EU law if they don't look, let's say, in enough details or they don't really look at the full scale of solutions they have at their disposal to achieve those objectives. So again, this was the point of the paper, to remind and to make aware those implementers that those exist. So that's why we are drafting, and we have drafted this comprehensive implementation guidebook. The full name is not fully decided, but that's what we want to do with it on these 4 pieces of legislation. So again, just to recap, we have 3 objectives. We have one, as I said, inform of the new policy package that we have from the European Green Deal. So inform all policymakers that will be involved in implementing those. We need to explain clearly how those provisions could be achieved by green roof and walls and what it entails also for them in order to respect the obligation that have been put in EU law. So we want to clearly explain what it says in the EU law, but also the steps to get there and the steps to implement those obligations. And also, and that of course is very important to make sure that let's say our solutions are properly valued also, is to explain with a list of case studies, scientific evidence, why those are beneficial and can, let's say, achieve the goals that could be achieved by other solutions in a better way, whatever it comes to really the specific objective, for example, energy savings or reduction of wastewater, but really also to make sense that there is a beneficial overall, the benefit overall at urban level. So these are the 3 really core aim that we want to have, and really the 3 takeaways in sense that we want readers to come out with this document. So now that we are working on these guidelines, in terms of timeline, we are still finalizing the core products, and we'll show you a bit what we have at the moment. We need to, of course, fully finalize the text, and then once it's published, we really want to make an important point of making sure that this document gets to the hand of the right people. So the people that will make the policies that at national level that will achieve those objectives, the people that will need to implement, the people that are designing financing instrument, the urban designer, urban implementer. So really all the relevant actors that are being involved with those requirements. This is why also from the WGIN side, we really think that cooperating with the EFB is essential so we really have at the WGIN an expertise on what is being required by EU legislation, but also the EFB really brings the part of the national level and what needs concretely to happen. So this is why we are in great cooperation creating that document, and we need to maintain this cooperation when disseminating that document to the relevant people. Also, what we want to do also from the WGIN side is that once we get a better link with the local and national implementers, we get also a deeper understanding of what is working, what is not working, the challenges that still remains with how EU legislation are being designed. And this is very important also to us to infer future EU policymaking. So when there's new directive and new regulation being negotiated, we'll have a greater understanding of what works and what doesn't work, and we can change the legal text in a way that reflects those situations. So for us, this is also a very important work and an important exercise also for the future of our policymaking. So this is what we have in mind in terms of global background and the objective of the paper. And now I can give the floor to Katarina that will give us a bit more of an explanation of what is actually inside of it. And as we discussed, you can tell me next slide, so it's easier also on your side.
Okay, thank you, Antonian, for giving the introduction, and also hello from my side. I'm excited to present the part which EFB is contributing to this document, and we've been recently mainly working on the guidelines with the intention to facilitate also to visualize what steps needs to be done by implementing. Antonian, can you go to the next slide? So we decide to create infographics to the guidelines, and in total we have 3 infographics to the EU directives, which are the energy efficiency guideline for buildings, the generally efficiency guideline, the wastewater treatment guideline, and then we also have one guideline regarding the nature restoration regulation. Next slide, please. So those are the infographics, and for each infographic in the document, we have a fully written text explaining our guideline or the roadmap a bit more step by step and in detail. And so, yeah, for example, here this is the roadmap for the energy efficiency directive, and we highlight in total 6 steps, and then in the document you can read more about the advices we, for example, give for promote synergies with other EU directives, train market actors, and synthesize the companies. And additionally to our guideline, we also refer to scientific evidence studies and other publications which have been done in the past to have a reference. Next slide, please. So this is, for example, the infographic regarding the energy performance of the building directive. And I don't want to tell too much about the steps. It's a bit too detailed, but now you have an idea how our infographics looks like. And then to each infographic, we have a more detailed information text in the document. And on the next slide is the Urban Wastewater Treatment Directive. And on the other slide is the guideline regarding the nature restoration regulations. Yes, which is, because it's a regulation, then we decide to present it in 4 phases and 10 steps you need to implement. Yeah. Any questions so far?
If you have any questions, you can write them to the chat, and yeah, or in the end of the presentation, maybe people can also unmute themselves and have a discussion. There are no questions in the chat so far, I think.
Did you have another slide, Katarina? I'm not sure. Yeah, I think there was it. Maybe also to sum up. So really, what is inside, and again, of course, we will share with you the document when it's finalized. It's really an explanation of the legal text, then an explanation of why green infrastructure can be used to fulfill that obligation within the legal text, because sometimes it's not directly written down in the legislation. And then, as Katarina just mentioned, then we have the concrete implementation steps, which you can see in the infographic. And as she mentioned, also, you have a bit more of detailed explanation if you want more. And then you have also case studies, examples on the ground, how it's been done in some part of Europe that can also be used for implementers as inspiration. So this is how we created a bit those guidelines. And I think, yeah, with that, I think that's the end of our presentation. I don't know if you want to take back the screen, Tetiana.
You can stop sharing, I think, right? Thank you very, very much for the presentation and for your work on the document. Yes, it was it's very useful document, and yeah, thanks a lot for WGIN for this important part of EU perspective and your understanding of the policies, and we will try our best with all EFB colleagues to contribute to the examples and to implementation actually of these policies on national level. Thanks a lot. We have a question from Vera. You raised the hand.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So also thanks from my side, especially also to Katarina, who took over in a certain phase of somehow getting to the point also in the document. And I think it would be interesting. Also, we have a lot of members here today from different countries, how they will pick up and work with this document. So I think that's probably the next step. So just looking a bit what's coming ahead. So it would be interesting to bring interested national stakeholders together, probably in some first online meetings, and let them read the document first, and then try to understand what their feedback on the document is, how it can be helpful, and how it will guide, let's say, the upcoming years of policy implementation on national levels. I think we also got some comments in the chat. I think Pavel was asking, when will it be published and how it will be distributed, came from Sophie from France.
So in terms of timeline, we're still working on it. I think also from our side, from the WGIN, of course, because it will be also an output paper on our side, we want to have it reviewed by our own members. So once the draft is finalized, we'll still have some kind of a reviewing phase, but it will be hopefully relatively soon, potentially in the month of November. And then in terms of distribution, I think we can share it definitely to this whole group and all partners that we have. And then coming back to your point, Vera, I think it will be very important to make sure that we get, as you mentioned, the right people in the room or in a webinar to explain. Also, I had it in my slide, but I didn't mention it. I think there will be a very important part on translation somehow. I don't know if we can use it with AI tools or manual translation. But of course, if you have national implementer that are really only now talking or like working in the national language, they will maybe have an easier time understanding a document their national language. So that could be also done at that moment. And I see also a question from Benjamin. We don't directly refer how to finance nature-based solution in these guidelines, because for the moment there's not something specific in the for legislation that we saw on this, but we know that the European Union is working on it. There is also some new funding programs that are touching, but indirectly also to natural-based solution when it comes to water resilience, for instance. So this might come later, potentially in new iteration of the document, but not for the moment, because we're really looking at what happened in the past mandates, and those are more current, let's say.
Yeah, thank you very much. We were happy to bring together Benjamin and Antonin in one space, because next presentation will be also related to the guidelines, and it's interesting if we can exchange experience and read each other's documents and make them even more comprehensive. Thank you very much. Are there any more questions in the chat, in the room? Yeah, we still have some time. If not, I thank you very much, yes, Antonin and Katarina, for the presentation, answering questions. I please ask you to stay here a bit longer to the part when Benjamin will be presenting the deliverable of GoNaturePositive project, so we can have also the discussion around this. And thank you very much. So I kindly invite Benjamin Kupilas, coordinator of Biodiversity in Ecologic Institute, and our colleague from GoNaturePositive project, to start your presentation.
Thank you so much, Tetiana. Just give me a second to share my screen and put it into presentation mode. I hope this works now.
Yes, perfect.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And thanks for the warm introduction and the invitation, as I said. I'm really pleased to be here with you today to share some of our insights on our recent work, as you said, within the GoNaturePositive initiative or GoNaturePositive project, where we were leading the work on mapping policies and cooperative initiatives for a nature-positive economy. In a physical meeting, I would usually start with an interactive question like, hey, does anyone know how dependent our economy is on nature? Since we're all in this virtual space, it's quite late, I will give you the answer right away. PwC calculated in, I think it was about 2 years ago, 2023, that over half of the global GDP depends on nature. And this year, new research from the JRC showed that Europe's economy is even more dependent on nature. And despite this dependency, it's also well established that our current economic systems are one of the primary drivers contributing to the degradation of nature rather than restoring nature. And in GoNaturePositive, as Tetiana said in the beginning, we are researching and piloting transformation to a nature-positive economy. So what is a nature-positive economy? As shown in this figure, a nature-positive economy means that the net result of all our economic activities combined should ideally lead to an absolute increase in nature to the point of full recovery. The transition to a nature-positive economy is basically aligned with national and EU commitments to the global biodiversity framework, as well as the implementation of the nature restoration regulation, of which we heard earlier today as well. So it's also clear that this transition to a nature-positive future, to a nature-positive economy, is not going to happen overnight, and it will require a very collaborative effort from policymakers, businesses, the financial sector to enable this transition. There we go. As Tetiana also mentioned already, which is great, one of the first activities we really undertook within the project was to map the current EU and, where relevant, also global policy landscapes, as well as EU and international private sector initiatives that we considered relevant for transitioning to this nature-positive future. We wanted to really understand how well the transition is already supported within the current landscapes. On this slide, you will find a link to our policy publications. In the main publication, you will find a comprehensive mapping of 20 key EU policies and 20 global and EU initiatives of highest relevance to the nature-positive transition. And we also completed 5 sectoral briefs, diving deeper into the nature positiveness of EU policies in 5 key sectors. You can see the forestry sector, agri-food systems, tourism, blue economy, and highlighted in yellow, the built environment, which was co-authored by 2 EFB colleagues, Vera and Tetiana. highlighted in yellow because I will go into a bit more detail at the end of my presentation. And I think Tetiana mentioned already that these 5 sectors were chosen as we are currently working within the project with pilot partners in each of these sectors to see how we can actually operationalize the concept of a nature-positive economy in 3 different time frames. The first one is until 2027, end of 2027, which is also the end of the GoNaturePositive project, until 2030 and until 2050, which aligns very much with the road mapping approach that was mentioned earlier. I don't want to go into too much methodological details and nitty-gritty, but what I really want to highlight is that we also considered recent policy developments, including the European Competitiveness Compass and the Omnibus Simplification Package. And when I talk about cooperative initiatives or private sector initiatives, we basically define these initiatives broadly, considering cooperative action, cooperative approaches between private actors, such as businesses, NGOs, academic institutions. You can think of examples like the TNFD, for example, which is the nature-related financial, the task force to nature-related financial discourses, or the SBTI, which is the Science-Based Targets Initiative. The third very brief point that I want to mention is how did we really quantify and assess a nature-positive output? We looked into 4 nature-positive dimensions: reduce harmful activities, create additional nature, increase knowledge, and support transformative change. And the latter by looking into aspects including stakeholder engagement, governance structures, also how marginalized voices have been incorporated and are considered in co-creative processes. So what did we find? Well, first of all, this is the positive news. We can see that at an overarching level, many of the policies that we assessed are saying the right things. There are many nature-positive elements, such as I said, reducing harmful activities, creating nature or additional nature, increasing knowledge and supporting transformative change. There's recently been growing recognition of nature's role in climate resilience as well as long-term prosperity. And we have seen a clear progress in areas like knowledge generation, setting of restoration targets, transparency efforts, through frameworks like the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, or in short, CSRD reporting duties. One other positive example that has been highlighted already is the Nature Restoration Regulation, which promotes the protection and restoration of nature. And for the first time, really with legally binding and time-bound targets within a framework that also allows for economic growth, which is very important when you talk to economic policymakers. And it also considers transformative change aspects, such as inclusive stakeholder consultation when developing the national restoration plans. But we also saw that many of the policies still lacked teeth, really. We found a heavy reliance on voluntary action and non-binding targets. One example is the Circular Economy Action Plan, which lays out ambitious goals, such as doubling circular material use rate and halving municipal waste by 2030. But the transformative potential remains constrained because it's non-binding. It relies on voluntary initiatives. It provides information tools and private standards rather than strict regulations. The third point I want to highlight is that we found much evidence of conflicting policies with continued funding for nature-harmful funding that continues to incentivize practices that degrade rather than restore ecosystems. And the recent Omnibus simplification measures and emphasis on competitiveness could really potentially weaken the application of do no significant harm principles by rolling back reporting obligations that have been laid out previously and shifting attention towards short-term economic growth at the expense of environmental safeguards. And the last point is that we really need further progress on inclusive governance. For example, by embedding participatory processes, by improving cross-sectoral collaboration, particularly in urban areas, and social equity considerations in decision-making processes. As I said, including marginalized groups, including diverse knowledge systems. So within our report, on our main report, we made a number of overarching recommendations to strengthen the policy environment. And the top three are, first of all, we found that there is a significant scope to embed nature in the competitiveness agenda. Transition to a nature-positive business model can help to de-risk the exposure of the European economy to nature loss. The second one is that many businesses and financial sector already know about the risk. In 2025, this year, the WEF Annual Global Risk Report ranked biodiversity loss and ecosystem collapse second only to extreme weather events in a list of more than 33 risks expected to deteriorate significantly over a 10-year horizon. And we know that businesses and financial leaders, they are already mobilizing to increase influence on policymakers. So we need more business, we need business leadership and investor leadership to keep the pressure on policymakers, to demand stronger enforcement and redirect nature harmful subsidies and financial flows towards nature positive business models, nature restoration. And the third recommendation I want to highlight is that we need to seize windows of opportunities like the EU budget negotiations that are currently taking place. It's called MFF, it's the Multi-Annual Financial Framework. This is the EU budget. I think, Antoine, you also mentioned that there are new funding streams, new financing streams are coming up. We can see that the LIFE program might vanish or might be submerged under the umbrella of something looking more into competitiveness. So more importantly, to flag that nature is at the heart of resilience and long-term competitiveness. So we need this to make sure nature and financing for nature does not slide off the European agenda, and to ensure that key foundational elements like inclusive and equitable governance aren't sidelined at all. And while it's easy to focus on such negative messages, an important part of the GoNaturePositive project is also to focus on positives and opportunities that shift to a nature-positive future. For example, through unlocking innovation and job creation from nature restoration. I think this is one of the core aspects that I saw in the agri-food system, but also in the built environment. And as I said in the beginning, I want to deep dive briefly into the built environment sector, which has been co-authored by EFB. First of all, saying that the built environment sector still drives land use change, resource extraction and emissions. For example, urban sprawl consumes still around 1,000 square kilometers of EU land every year, making it a major driver of biodiversity loss. We can see that the construction sector is a major consumer of raw materials such as sand, gravel, limestone, and still only with limited uptake of circular economy principles. And buildings alone account for about 40% of EU energy consumption and 35% of greenhouse gas emissions, meaning the sector is a major driver of climate change as well. But, and this is the positive news, the built environment also offers one of the clearest pathways, from our opinion, by integrating, for example, nature-based solutions from green roofs and walls to trees, urban forests, permeable pavements. We can restore ecosystems while addressing simultaneously urban challenges like heat, flooding, and noise pollution. Embedding circular design and sustainable materials more systematically into construction can reduce material use, emissions, and environmental footprints, and improving energy efficiency, both in new buildings and by retrofitting existing housing stocks, cuts emissions, lowers energy bills, and can support climate resilience. And when we look at the drivers for change in the built environment, we can see both strong policy enablers as well as important gaps alongside some emerging actions from the private sector. On the enabling side, we have the previously mentioned European Green Deal, we have the EU Biodiversity Strategy 2030, the Nature Restoration Regulation. These all provide strong overarching mandates for restoring ecosystems, embedding nature-based solutions into urban planning and construction. The Nature Restoration Regulation, I think it's good to name it 3 times in a row, so it sticks, is a really important instrument because it introduces, as I said, legally binding targets, including for urban ecosystems, something that moves the agenda beyond just voluntary action. In Article 8, it says that we shouldn't there's no net loss of urban green space and tree cover by 2030, but measurable net gains by 2040 and 2050. We also heard about the Energy Efficiency Directive already. I think it's also under Article 8, where it says that energy savings through the implementation of green roofs and walls is supported. And the Urban Wastewater Treatment Directive, which has also been mentioned, already prioritizes green and blue infrastructures, nature-based solutions when planning urban water systems. But again, some challenges remain. The green infrastructure strategy, which could be and is still an important policy instrument, lacks binding targets, and in some cases, EU funding streams still support activities that undermine progress. And I think one overarching challenge is that the built environment is still treated in silos. We have construction policies, we have biodiversity policies, we often have water policies that aren't integrated, which ultimately limits systemic uptake of nature-based solutions. And then on the business side, initiatives like the World Green Building Council and the World Business Council for Sustainable Development, they are helping to push the sustainable practices and create market demands for greener constructions, including green roofs and walls. And most positively, they support us, the coalition of the willing, and helping to shift from very voluntary to more mandatory action. So wrapping up, hopefully on a more positive note, is nature positive economy is within reach, but only if we actively shape it. This isn't something which is going to happen by default. It requires a systemic shift in how we approach policy and how we approach finance and businesses alike, by aligning these domains toward common goals. Collaboration is essential. We have cooperative initiatives that can play a vital role, but they can't carry the transition alone. So we need a strong policy framework and we need strong business leadership. Investment and accountability are non-negotiable. That means scaling up funding for nature, ending harmful subsidies, and ensuring that companies are held to account for their sustainability claims and actions. And we also need integration and equity. Nature can no longer sit at the margins. It must be mainstreamed across economic, climate, and land use strategies. And the transition must be fair and inclusive. And finally, the time really is to act now. We have a narrow but real window of opportunity with the upcoming EU policy and budget cycles that we must seize to unlock nature positive investments and lock in nature positive goals at the structural level. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Benjamin. Thanks for your perspective for this document. It's really important for us to see that we are like a part of this bigger construction sector and realize how, like, we focus sometimes on what we can change inside our green roofs and wall sector and how to make it even more nature positive, but we are inside a bigger, much less nature positive sector than we are, and it's a lot of to do. And yeah, thank you very much for your presentation. And yes, now we can open the section of Q&A session. And if you have questions to Benjamin, you can raise your hand up and we can talk, or you can write your question to the chat. Please, thanks. Are there any comments? Yeah. So.
Silence is good. Everything was clear, I hope.
Yeah. Maybe Antonin, you have something to tell, like how we can collaborate more in this field.
No, I mean, first of all, thank you for the presentation. It was very interesting. I mean, I saw some things on the GoNaturePositive program. I didn't had such a detailed explanation, so it was very interesting to understand. I mean, we're working in the same competitiveness environment and trying to make the best out of it as well. I really think one of the key aspects, I mean, that we're also gonna, for now, we've been quite somehow protected by it in some cases, we have to make sure that the whole simplification agenda doesn't also harm nature, but also the legislation that have been agreed in the past mandate and what can happen in this new mandate. So no, just in general, fully agree with everything you said, and a very interesting program. And yeah, we'll see how we can cooperate later on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Antonin. Yes, we are looking forward if you and Luigi could join our road mapping workshops. It would be great. Like from this policy perspective, we would really need you and your expertise. And yeah, Benjamin is also organizing with our project colleagues, and it should be interesting experience. This workshop will be facilitated by Cambridge University, so we it will be professionally moderated, and we hope we have a lot of perspectives in it, and we will have a lot of time to work on it. So it would be great if you could also join. We would need you. The question to everybody, if you have questions to Benjamin or Antonin, because they may leave the meeting soon, and then you will not have an opportunity to ask them. So you have 10 minutes now, and then we will switch to the more practical part, how actually this negative impact is reduced with help of refurbishment projects and green roofs and walls, best practices from Czech Republic. So if you have questions to policy, ask now. Yeah, I see the raised hand. You can unmute your mic and ask.
Yes. Hi, I'm Ricardo Urbano from Artes, with a consortium that is taking care of the implementation of green roofs. It's a research and innovation project that is answering to a call of DUT. And actually, our first part of the research is about legislation, and this, let's say, what I'm doing with my colleagues from France, Spain, Portugal, Greece, and Cyprus. We are trying to analyze the national and the national legislation, and then to make a comparative process about this legislation. So for what I realize now, your research was really about the European legislation, so how it's organized and how different aspects. And I was wondering if you managed to analyze how this legislation will be received by the countries. And let's say I'm telling you what I discovered in these few months of work. The legislation that we have are very different in each countries, but then it comes to municipality level, almost everywhere. This means that we have a big problem, because municipality level means that if you have a big city, you may have offices and programs and policies that they can be implemented. But if the cities are quite small, they will not have this kind of organization, and they will not have, for sure, the resources and the knowledge as well. So for what I saw right now, we didn't finish yet our research, so it will finish in March, more or less. I see that the big cities and, for example, for Paris, they have a kind of structure that can interact with the European legislation. And by this, I mean they have, for example, the Paris Bioclimatic Urban Fund, which is a way how to deal with the green transition. Okay. Now, this kind of structure is very important that it's implemented in all the countries, because without this kind of office, without this kind of organization, it's very difficult that any kind of legislation will be implemented, because first of all, the legislation is implemented at the national level. So each government has to somehow create their own law and regulation, and then it will give let's say, the responsibility to regional levels or to municipality level to implement it. And this step, for me, makes everything very weak. It becomes very weak, and it's I think it's a big issue of the whole structure of legislation. I mean, when it comes to municipal level or regional level, it's let's say all the energy of the legislation is lost, in my mind. I don't know your opinion.
No,
maybe this my point of thought.
No, it's a good remark. Maybe I can take that one, and of course you can follow Benjamin. So the way EU legislation is made, which is also the way I studied it, and I see that this is the case. It's really the European Union is putting obligation on member states because that's what it can do. Then, of course, the way that member states are helping or not helping, putting into place the right funding mechanism, the right mechanism to make sure that this happen in regions, in cities, in smaller cities. This is unfortunately kind of out of the hands of how EU law is being made. Of course, then you will have the funding mechanism. You always have some things where you can help directly, but it's also always kind of linked to countries, and also the countries are the one that are supposedly meaning to reach that obligation. I mean, if you look at the legal text, it's always member state shall. Of course, then the next word is about local, about cities, but the responsibility is on member states, on countries. So it's getting a bit, I fully agree. Then you have this kind of gray part where you have an obligation at national level. You have the big cities that can also have the capacity to do quite fine because they have the funding, they know how to do it, they know what to put in place. And then sometimes you have the smaller cities that are a bit more left behind, or they don't have the capacity to do it. And this is also one way to really push national governments to understand that they should help their regional and local authorities to make sure that this is implemented, especially let's say the smaller ones and the one that are really in need of help to do that. But unfortunately, again, when it comes to EU policy making, there's a low power to take, let's say, power from member states and to help directly, because it's not, let's say, the chain doesn't work that way. But I agree with you, this is a problem, and if we want things to be implemented on the ground, that's what needs to happen at the end of the day. So yeah, I don't know, Benjamin, if you want to add anything.
I can, if that's okay, Vera, I can see you also raised your hand. Maybe we go into the same direction. I agree, and I think it's important. Often it comes down, this is my experience, it comes down to funding and resources, not only monetary resources, but also personal resources in implementing, planning and implementing nature-based solutions at the not national, but at the local level. And I don't want, Vera, because you have raised your hand and I can see what you wrote in the chat, this would have been my response, basically. So I probably hand over to you.
Yeah, so on top of what I wrote in the chat, I think this is quite an interesting discussion, and this is exactly the kind of discussion that we would be expecting once we publish the document that we just compiled, because what we were looking at was, okay, there is this EU policy, how does it come to a national level, and also on a national level, what steps need to be taken? Who are the stakeholders that need to be involved? who has influencing capacity, who can help out cities in that process by providing solutions, best practice cases. So how can this implementation on the national to the really local and regional level be stimulated? And this is when this interesting architecture of the EFB comes in, because we have a national non-for-profit association in every country. There are a lot of different players along the value chain, members of our national associations, researchers, technology providers, cities. So we are wondering how on our national levels and with our national networks, how can we help this process to be faster, to be more precise, and also potentially also cover up for some missing resources. Just what you said, Urbano, also we came to this conclusion, yeah, how does a middle or even small-sized city without, the resources, how can they implement? So they need best practice examples. They need to see how others potentially are doing it to understand how can it be possible in their environment. And this is how we try to approach actually this policy document that we are going to further detail within the next month. So yes, open arms and an invitation to you and also your research that is somehow, I think, quite well linked. So we should, continue the discussion and see how we can probably also support each other.
Yeah, thank you very much for your question. Yeah, thank you very much, Benjamin, for your presentation, for discussion, for everything. I think we should finish and move on with other presentations now. Yeah, thanks a lot. We'll stay in collaboration. If you want to continue working with us in this field, with Benjamin, with Antonin, please join our working group. Write us your email. We will send you more information about it. Thanks a lot. So we should move with our next presentation. And now we move to this practical implementation on site about how we can make building sector more nature positive. And we will start with Rebecca Landwehr's presentation. Rebecca Landwehr is the Vice President of EFB and the Project Manager from German Association of Building Greening. Are you here, Rebecca? Yeah, I don't.
Yes, I am here. Hey, Tetiana.
Good. Sorry, because I don't see my screen maybe in full. Thank you very much for joining us today. And please, can you share your presentation with us? The floor is yours.
Yes, for sure. Thank you very much for the invitation. And I'm very happy to be invited for today's open meeting. And as Tetiana already said, I will put a focus more on the retrofitting possibilities that we have to green roof and facades in existing buildings. My name is Rebecca Landwehr. I'm working for the German Association for Building Greening, Bundesverband GebäudeGrün, and I'm also working at EFB. And I want to give you an insight in our project that is already finished since 2024, but we're still working on it a little bit. It's called Existing Green Building, and it was funded by the German Federal Institute of Research for Building, Urban Affairs and Development. And it was on from 2022 to 2024. And we're still working on our technical information that hopefully will be finished in the next month. Thumbs are pushed for that one. And the challenges that we have in cities, I think it's from a European scale everywhere the same. So we take a look at more the city centers, at very densely steel compact built areas where we have a lack of green and blue infrastructure, and therefore in the summer we all know that urban heat islands. And if you take a look, for example, on the picture on the top left, there you see the city center of Berlin, and what you see is a lot of building and very less trees. And especially for those areas, building greening can be one of the only possible greenings they can implement there, because we have a lack of space too. On the other side, we have this industry areas, or where we have a lot of free space on roofs and facades that could be green, so a lot of potential again. And then we have more the older towns, that parts that are also very dense, that need cooling for summer, and also retention when it comes to rainwater. So especially those areas, they, on the one hand, they have a high need in climate adaptation, and on the other hand, it's very hard to implement all those green measures that we have in those existing building areas. And when we look, for example, in this project, this is an intensive green roof from a company called Schwalbe, and here in Germany, and they recreated really an area for their for the people working in the company. On that building, you see vertical green. You also see the possible to have a little bit like an urban garden on top, and also a running line. So the people working there really can use their free time to have a very close green area. But this is something that we can build with new buildings, where we have the possibility to influence the statics and all the aspects that comes with building greening. But how about the existing stock? And also here we have a nice example from Germany. Maybe you have already visited the bunker in Hamburg. This is a very old bunker from the Second World War, and they want to use them, or use it, to make like an open green park. And as you see on the right picture, you can walk up on the outside of the facade, walk up till the top, and it's like a walking park. They did a lot of tree planting on that top, and it's for sure a green roof with charisma. But again, this is what we call a lighthouse project. So the city administration, the funding, and everything has to work together to create those really very big, financially big projects. So this is not what we see in the like common practice. So how does it look there? And this is maybe a picture what we can see when we look, for example, on the city level, from smaller cities, but also where we see projects that are funded by city funding programs. So from the commercial side, most of the times maybe the statics didn't work, so you need to go to the facades, or in the private area we have small carports or garages that can be greened. Because as I already said, in that retrofitting project, we need to work with mostly low-tech greening options, because we have to work with what we have when it comes to the building elements. So the statics, fire protection, building physics, accessibility, all the aspects that we have in the new building sectors now has to be covered also in existing buildings without having the influence of it or in it. So this is what makes it a lot of more difficult to really bring green into those areas. And we have a lot of research questions in that project. For example, what is the effective approach to the feasibility testing? What groups of people work on those projects together? When do we need what kind of expertise? How do we check the static reserves? Is it possible to do also static upgrades? How do technical rules and existing products and system solutions already have like a solution for existing buildings? How are the official requirements? And the most important part, how can we use roof repairs and also energy efficient renovations as a starting point, also for more greening at facades and roofs, and for sure the funding opportunities. So the objectives, the goals of this project was first to create a checklist and working aids to green more existing roofs and facades. We developed a guideline, and we also wanted to create a knowledge transfer. And we started 2022 with an online survey, our first general BEGG survey. And there the goal was to get an overview of the most important aspects of renovation and also retrofitting, greening of buildings. And therefore we contacted 3,000 people. They were BuGG members, so members of our association, research and teaching institutes, cities, other associations. And we got returns, 92. It's not very a high number, but at least we got close to 100 answers. And yeah, the main aspect really was, so more than 50% said that the statics is the key point when it comes to retrofitting. And this is why we also put a focus on that topic. Then we had a second called object-related BEGG survey, where we collected as many objects that had been retrofitted as we could. And over the 2 years, we collected 107 objects through that survey, but also through internet research, our own photo archive of BuGG, and also we asked different members of us to give us some project examples, and they have been also green facades, green roofs, mostly actually green facades, but also projects that combine both. And from those 107 objects, we created 20 object profiles, as you see on that picture. So we tried to collect as most information as we could about location, type of building used, year of construction, year of building the greening, area size greening, and so on. You see the list on the left side. We also tried to collect costs, how was the progress to implement those greening elements, and for sure we wanted to have photos from the before and after. And from those object profiles, I want to present you some examples, and we start with a very small one, a carport in Cologne. And this private carport has been built, or was built in 1971. And what do we have here? In the existing building fabric, a partly gravel covering and partly bituminous waterproofing, not root resistant actually. And the goal of the owner was to repair it, to repair the waterproofing of that roof. And the angle, as you see where the photo is taken, is out of a window of his daughter. And he wanted her to not look at this black roof. He wanted it to be more aesthetic, more biodiverse. So they decided to create a green roof, 50 square meter with 12 centimeters height, sedum and wild herbs. And this cost around 2,000 euros. And Cologne has a funding program, so they got a subsidy of 50%. How did they do it? Actually, they did it on their own. So for those little areas, if you are handy enough and crafty enough, you can really create this on your own with a green roof system that you can order in a private way, and also build it by yourself. And the statics, there had been a friend of him, he was a craftsman, and he said that this is sufficient for extensive green roofs. So this is like the really basic first possible way to green something. And then we get one step further. This is a clubhouse from a tennis club in Karlsruhe. It's a public institution built in 1915. We have a flat roof and a solar system on top. And the goal was to do an energy efficient renovation of that roof. So most of the time you will see the motivation to green it is not really the interest in green at first. It's more energy repairing and so on. So this is really interesting to us to see. The green roof was implemented 2021 with 235 square meters. It was a biodiverse green roof, and it also got financial support from the city of Karlsruhe and also a local sports association because of the sports club. And the testing of the statics has been done by a structural office, and the implementation, there was a specialist a landscaping company who did it at the end. So here we not only have like only the structural office or somebody who take a look at the statics, we also have a company, a professional company for the implementation. And then we go even bigger. This is a very nice project in Chemnitz. It's called Wirkbauareal. It's an intensive green roof, and this office building was built 1883, and therefore it's listed, so it's protected. And what we have seen there before the greening was a flat roof with ceilings. Upper 2 floors of the building were destroyed in the Second World War. So the original building was as high as this neighbor. And the people working there, they wanted to have an attractive green and meeting space in the neighborhood. And yeah, they made a big project out of it. So the green roof was implemented 2022, and it took them 3 years. There was also an architect and a landscape architect. There was together working at this project, and also a tree nursery, because it's they put a lot of trees on top too. And the funding that came from the state of Saxony, so again, funding program was needed. And the special feature of this project is that it's open to the public, and it can be used as an event venue, and also they have furniture that you can use. And we also see the same thing from the facade greening side. So this, for example, is a private apartment building in Leipzig. It's built around 1900, also listed, so also protected. And the people living there, you see it on the photo on the second one, they wanted to get rid of that graffiti. So they say, maybe we just try greening. And those individuals, they really have convinced the house community. And yeah, there was then a ground-based facade greening 2021. Clamping aids made of stainless steel ropes, and the construction costs were 4,700 euros. Again, there was a funding, but not as much as the cities before. And the statics were calculated by the system manufacturer, and it really worked. So since that, they have no problems with graffiti anymore. And the special is that they have to open the public sidewalk, and therefore they needed an agreement with the city what they got. So especially the city of Leipzig is very open to that, because they want to push facade greening or building greening in general. Then a project from Vienna. This municipal office building from the 1960s. And we have an internal thermal insulation composite system with new insulation and plaster facades. And they wanted to put a facade greening directly onto the facade. So they tested the statics by a structural office, and they said no. So they needed a different system. And the alternative that they got was a self-supporting construction in front of the facade on its own foundations. A foundation made of steel columns as rectangular hollow sections raised by plant troughs. So this is really like a facade before or a greening before the facade, and with an automatic irrigation system, different kind of plants in it. And this is what is possible when the statics says no, actually. And then at the last project that I have is a parking garage back in Germany, in Metzingen. And this is a commercial car park from 2002. It's a steel skeleton construction, and they also decided to do a facade greening there 2021, because they wanted, you see in the background, there's a shopping center, and this car park just didn't look nice. So the owner of those car parks in the shopping mall decided to make it nicer, greener, with a more custom-friendly and inviting design. And they put 69 special planter boxes on 3 horizontal levels with ivy. And this is also fully automatic computer-controlled irrigation and fertilizer system. Yeah, and it still looks that green since then. So also right here, different motivations, different systems in the use, very close to the object. What we had in 2025 in May was a big congress on existing green buildings with over 200 participants. And that was, yeah, really not only like an overall view on that topic, but also a start, because we now, for example, took a closer look to the protected buildings and all those special buildings that we have in the city structure. So there's still a lot of research to do. And as I said, we will publish this technical information only in German, unfortunately, but maybe we can do like an excerpt also in English. I promised it already months ago to be published, but I hope that we will finish it next month. And what did we learn about this or in this project? I have 5 points in total for you. The first thing is motivation and advice. So what we see is that building greening should be able to be advised by all trades, planners and authorities involved in the construction process, because the starting point for a retrofitting can be very different. It can be, as I said, a repair project, energy efficient renovation. It could be an interest in photovoltaic, and then they say, okay, I see the positive effect of green roof and or as a bio-solar green roof, and I decide to do both. So it's most of the time not really the interest in green at the start. So we need to train all of the trades, the planners, the authorities, and that's very important for us, for example, on the energy side, because there's a lot of funding at the moment, so that all the energy experts, the consultants, that they can also advise building greening. The second part is, or the second point, that all the projects that we presented, all the 21s, they all are very individual projects. So it's very difficult to make general statements, recommendations, also advices for costs of retrofitting, as each building must be considered individually. But all these 20 projects, they can serve as an inspiration or orientation for people who would like to retrofit greening. Third point, the suitability test. So especially the statics are really the central aspect. And therefore you need to know who is able to check that, what you need for information and so on. And there you need to differ between small and bigger projects. As I said, with the carport in Cologne, that could also only be like a roofer who also have a knowledge in statics that can say, okay, the carport, the garage is able to, or has the statics for a green roof. For larger projects, for sure, you need a structural engineer, an architect that can solve that. And therefore, for sure, you also need training. The fourth point is for a smooth process, and I think it's also in like different measures of blue-green infrastructure, the implementation of this retrofitting of green roofs and facades, they really need a cross-trade cooperation. So regional active teams. We see it also with the biosolar green roof, or the biosolar roof, that we that you have the roofer, you have the landscaper for the greening, and then you also have the solar company for the panels. So they need to work hand in hand, and it's the same when you do like renovations, that you really try to put all at one table, or you try to create company teams that are able to work in that field very smooth. And the fifth point is what we see a lot of projects really came into place through, or also as a motivation with those funding instruments. We have an increased number of funding programs in Germany, also from the municipality side, but also from a national and regional level. So this is from our side very important, because green roofs and green facades need that push because, for example, from the solar industry side, photovoltaic really is for a private person very easy to implement because it's economic, and green roofs and green facades that can that too, but I think people are more afraid and think that they put more money in it that they get from it. So we need to give them a little push to try it and to see what we have on the positive sides. So this is a little insight in that project, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. It was very, very interesting and inspiring example. Thank you, Rebecca. Yeah, if anyone have questions, you can write them to the chat. You can raise your hand and we can discuss closer the best practices of retrofitting in Germany and Austria. Each building is around the corner. Yeah, are there any questions to Rebecca? Not really. Okay, then maybe will you be able to stay till the end of the meeting, Rebecca?
Yes, sure.
There was something in the chat. Thanks for an excellent input.
No,
yes, from all of us. Very practical, very good. We are looking forward to publication. And yes, if there are any questions, you can still write them, and Rebecca is here and can read and answer. And then we slowly move to our last presentation for today. Pavel Dostal from Czech Republic, also EFB Vice President, will be presenting the competition of green roofs and walls in Czech Republic, which is wonderful also example of the best practices. Welcome, Pavel. Thank you for coming here.
Thank you. Thank you, Tetiana. So do you see the presentation now?
Yes, it's good.
All right, great. Thank you. All right, so so my name is Pavel Dostal, and I am the chairman of the Czech Green Roof Association, and also one of the VPs of the EFB. And I would like to tell you something about what we do and try to do with the green roof competition in our country, because it's an interesting example of bringing green roofs closer to the people. So in a nutshell, the competition that we organize for the best green roofs in the country has two categories. We have an expert category, which is divided in private and public buildings. So private buildings are family houses or residential buildings, and public buildings are shopping malls, office buildings, schools, hospitals, etc. And then we have a special award for of the public, which is basically that the general public has an option to click up the best green roof that they like on the website of the competition. The website of the competition is this. You can take a look at this year's works and also the previous year's works. Each work has a subsite with all the photos and descriptions and stories about the respective green roof. And what we see as benefits of this competition is primarily it showcases the best practice examples of green roofs in the country. It basically gathers on one place all the landmark, all the significant projects. Some year they are more significant, some year they are more normal, but all in all, it gathers a really nice compilation of what can be done in terms of building greening. So really the best examples. And because examples attract attention, they also generate a nice awareness of green roofs in the country. And we get contacted by media. We get inquiries for excursions on the roofs, which have been showcased in the competition, and that generates even more publicity for even the whole topic of green roofs. And also it helps us with helps us as an association to be more visible in terms of what we do. So every year we get hundreds or maybe thousands of leads to our association website, which is also attractive to our business members because they have an option for, to be visible with their companies and their products. And we also can and do sometimes involve local or even national politicians who give us auspices to do this, and sometimes they give us grants so that we can scale it up a little bit more. All in all, the green roof competition generates a lot of stories and photos that we can recycle afterwards and reuse. We have rights to the pictures. We can write articles. We can reuse the pictures in a number of ways so that we can promote the companies who are often our members, or we can just promote the idea of green roofs and get some more attention of the general public even. And of course, it's a great way to showcase even the topic of going closer to nature, bringing nature closer to the people, making our cities more livable, making them better, and a better fit for the future, which is something that we deal with in the project of GoNaturePositive. So let's take a closer look at the categories of the competition, just so that we know how the whole thing works. So the expert award is expert because there is a jury consisting of a number of people who are skilled in the topic. They gather. They have 3 days of road tripping around the country, looking physically on the roofs, examining whether the roof is actually done according to the standards for green roofs and according to the norm. And we decided to broaden the spectrum of the experts within the jury so that we have more stakeholders involved in actually seeing the roofs. So you can see the stakeholder groups. We have ministry representatives or some chamber representatives, partnership association, partner association, partnership foundation, and some other organizations represented. So they practically look on the roofs. They hear what the authors or the architects have to say about the roof, and then they assess each roof as they go. So in this year, if we take a look at the winners, the 2 places which were the highest were both biodiverse green roofs and family house, which illustrates how the topic of biodiversity is actually picking up in the industry. So it's not just pure extensive sedum roofs anymore. Basically, biodiversity is getting more traction. So this is the first one, the winner project, a biodiverse green roof close to Prague in a village called Kytin. And this is the second project, which is a very nice example of how local plans can be used on a roof, which is done according to the standards, but still hosts a really huge variety of plants and even insects. It's quite young. It's only, I think, 2 years, maybe not even 2 years old. So the density of the plants is not that high yet, but sometimes that's a better thing for biodiversity, actually. And the third is this green roof family house. In the category of public green roof, there are these green roofs on the school, so an intensive or semi-intensive green roof. And this one is a project on a panel house from 1969. So it's an example of retrofitting green roof on an existing building with a difficult structural situation, but it can be done, and it can be done in a way that there are intensive parts and extensive parts, and the roof can be used afterwards. And or this one, this is also a panel building. It's just the green roof is just lower, and it's a basic sedum type roof. This project integrating local biodiversity and simple green roofs. And looking at the award of the public, so each of the works has an article written on the website. They describe this in an application form. They submit photos. And then there is online voting, which 1 week before the results are to be announced, we stop that so that no one actually knows, or we hide the visibility of the ranking, so that people can still vote, but they don't see who's at which place. It's 1 IP address per week per vote, so that we limit, robotic engines submitting votes. We had to, for example, this year we had to deal with one issue that there was a robot voting and voting again. So we had to erase a lot of votes. But yeah, we came up with a better process afterwards. And also not to prioritize any given project. The projects are randomized on the website. So in the award of the public, there were 2 places awarded. The first one being a residential green roof on an apartment building, which we have already seen, and the second one was a green roof on an office building. And then there was a special award from the Ministry of the Environment for supporting environmental education. So that was an award given to an elementary school. So this is the first place, the retrofit green roof on a panel house. This is the second place, the office building on top of a company called Delicomat, selling vending machines for coffee. They decided to even build a coffee house, or a tea house / coffee house on the green roof, so that they have a quiet and green place to relax for their employees and visitors and business partners. And you can see that the composition of plants is also based on dry loving plants, sedums, thyme, and other dry loving plants. This is the special award of the minister. This is also a retrofit green roof. It's basic sedum because the structural loading capacity of the roof was very limited. It was about 80 kilos per square meter only. So with 80 kilos, it's impossible to do much more than this. And there's this lizard displayed on the roof, making use of water outlets. So all in all, the project GoNaturePositive has a focus of nature positive economy and focuses on the EU scale, bringing it down to all the way to local stakeholders, our researchers, policymakers, businesses, and the project gives out frameworks and case studies, economic models of how to transform the economy towards more nature positive. The competition that we organize, Zelená střecha roku, the green roof competition, showcases green roof innovations, sustainability projects on a national or municipal scale. The stakeholders are architects, cities, investors, and companies. And the output is we show real projects that it can be done. There are stories of overcoming problems, obstacles on the way, but still achieving a decent result. And the connection is that we offer tangible urban nature positive solutions which fulfill nature positive goals, and we share platform for scaling nature-based solutions and provide the evidence for nature positive impacts in cities. So that's it for the presentation. If you would like to ask anything, open to any questions, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Pavel. It was very interesting, very practical, I think, for all the associations. As a wonderful example and in very precisely in details how to implement it on website. I think it's very useful knowledge. Thank you very much. And this linkage is with GoNaturePositive is how we can share the best practices. Thanks a lot. Is there any questions? We have still 5 minutes, up to 10 minutes to learn more from Pavel. You can raise your hand and speak, or you can write to the chat. No, I think there are no questions. Then it was very, very detailed and easy to understand, and we will have it for our future implementations as a good example. Thanks a lot. Yes, I think we can move on. I have still few messages for you and information about the upcoming event still in this month. One second, I will share my screen. But first, I will. Oh, sorry, a bit lost with my screens. Yeah, so I will repeat what we talked from the very beginning with what Dusty told, that if you still did not explore the membership opportunities in your country, we kindly invite you to do so and look at the best practices which are already available in the national associations. I will post link to the chat to our national members who are already the members of EFB, and you can also see the associations in the country which are not represented in EFB on your local national level. And if you don't find one, contact us, and we will be able to share with you an inspiration and guidelines how to establish association and how you can become a part of EFB community. And if you don't want to yes, to be an established association, or you're already in the association, but you represent company who want to be involved more in EFB activities and receive more from our membership, we have also partnership offer for companies, and I will also share a link to the chat soon. And you can contact us for more details and read on our website. And yes, please call us, write us. We will have a private conversation and we will tell you more why it can be good and benefits for you. And the GoNaturePositive project, if you want to be part of it, for our road mapping workshop, yeah, you are welcome to contact us. And we have also a lot of activities ahead, except of this road mapping workshop, which we can collaborate, and I am sure it will be nice and interesting and beneficial for all of us. And I want to thank you one more time to all the speakers for today's presentations, for your time and involvement and your work in GoNaturePositive project and in EFB and in your national associations to make building sector greener, to make our cities greener. It's very, very important and valuable. Thanks a lot. We have one more interesting event for you this month. It's a webinar, Retrofitting the Blue-Green City Quarter, Innovative Products and Services. We have 3 interesting speakers, and we will talk about technologies, available products. Yes, you can register to this event on Connecting Nature Enterprise platform, the platform which unites nature-based enterprises. And I will stop sharing my presentation and will share all the links with you. Or you can just go to Connecting Nature Enterprise platform, and you don't necessarily have to be part of it to register there to the event, but you can join the platform too and explore the membership opportunities there. We will use this platform to spread more information about our sector. And it's a nice way for you to be connected not only to green building sector, but other nature-based enterprises in Europe and in the world. Yes, so you're welcome to join this event. We will have also webinars in November, in December. We will let you know soon, so connect to our social media platforms. Stay tuned, write us, and we will be happy to collaborate with you in the future. Thank you from behalf of all EFB team, and yeah, thank you for your time this evening. And if you still have any questions, please ask.